school teacher in Lansing. I taught in Lansing for about 11 years, 5th and 6th grade mostly, all subjects, so I kind of know how it is to be sitting out there. I'd like to say that this is going to be the most invigorating and gripping presentation you've ever seen, but it's about teacher certification, so that's not going to happen. I hope to present to you guys some good information. I know there are some processes, some rules, some policies out there that are maybe a little confusing and difficult to decipher and interpret, so hopefully in my being here today will help you guys get through this. I have put together slides to cover 3 hours, so if you do want to run from the building like it's on fire right now, I will understand. But my intent is, I'm going to kind of survey to see who all of you guys are and try to gear this towards everyone. I don't know that I'll hit the bullseye with everybody. We have, I'll cover a variety of things, so hopefully as teachers, administrators, this will help you guys. Just out of curiosity, so I was kind of, Jana was kind of pointing out who's who as he came in. How many of you are currently teachers? Okay. Building administrators? Central administrators? Okay. Like support services, like counselors, psychologists? Okay. All right. Well, these are the topics I intend to cover today, starting with the rule changes that took effect last year on September 1st and how they relate to certification requirements. I'll also try to demonstrate navigating MOEX. MOEX is our Michigan Online Educator Certification System, so anytime you need to do something certification or certificate related, you'll go to that website. Sketches, I guess is what we call them. I've heard them called a few different things. You can call them whatever you want, but they're state continuing education clock hours. And the SCR, I'll talk about using those and navigating that system. DPPD, HQ, and Q&A. That doesn't mean we need to save questions to the end. As we're going through this, please by all means raise your question. Raise your hand, pose a question, and we'll do that as we go. Starting with this slide. The alphabet soup of MDE. You guys are probably up to your ears in abbreviations and acronyms, and I'll try not to overwhelm you with those today. Most of you are probably more interested in just knowing what do you need to do to make sure that you keep your certificate current, meet the requirements. So that's my intention here today. Our glossary, if you're interested, I did put that up here. MOEX, Michigan Online Educator Certification System. How many of you have been on and set up an account before? Okay, a few of us. MEIS. MEIS is where you actually go to create an authenticated username and password to use with any of the systems at MDE, including MOEX. Your Secure Central Registry, SCR, that's where all of your sketches or previously your SBC EUs are kept. Your PIC, your personal identification code, is it's a significant identifier for you, and I'll explain that a little later. It helps you link up your Secure Central Registry to MOEX so that all of your hard work that you do in terms of earning sketches can be applicable and used to renew your certificate. EPI is an educator preparation institution, formerly TPI, Teacher Prep Institution. A lot of teachers ask me about taking appropriate coursework. So you'll see EPI throughout. SBCEUs, formerly Sketch, or this is what we now call Sketches. In essence, it's the same thing, just a different unit of measurement. What used to be a unit is now, we call them clock hours, so 1 unit is equivalent to 10 clock hours. OPPS, that's where I work. In particular, I'm in the Professional Educator Certification and Services Unit. HQ, as you know, probably stands for Highly Qualified, and I'm in the department of ahead. Teacher certification. Law and administrator rules on teacher certification require that everyone be appropriately certified if they're in positions of instructional capacity, and also requires that you have the appropriate authorizations and/or endorsements for your particular placement. If you're looking for basic information, the best place to go is our teacher cert page, and you can find it at this URL. It's michigan.gov/teacher cert. I'll spend some time doing a little bit of demonstrating on that, but basically, if you go to this page, you should be able to find just about anything you need, hopefully. Pay attention to the white space in the middle of the page. Don't be overwhelmed by the margins, as sometimes the department and the state can clutter up their websites with a lot of stuff that you may or may not need. Most particular that you'll find there is our Facts on Educator Certification in Michigan. That'll be the document that you see at the top of the page as you first log in or as you first visit the page. Anything that has to do with certification, certification requirements for all different certificate types are there. A little bit of tutorial for using MOEX is there. Some information on highly qualified is there. So Facts on Educator Certification is a document that's useful. Also on our teacher cert page, you'll see a link to the MOEX system. You'll see a link to the SCR, the Secure Central Registry. There is a document called Approved Reading Diagnostic Classes there. One of the requirements for moving from a provisional to a professional certificate is that you complete a reading requirement. One of those requirements is a reading diagnostic class, and we field a lot of questions about what's appropriate for that. There's a document on our teacher cert page that has a list of all the courses that have been approved by our office to meet that requirement. You can find information about our unit. PECS is what we call it. So let's say you have certification questions. We have contact information there. School counselor, school psych, school administrator, teacher cert. You can find the appropriate contact person there. Classes that can be taught. I know administrators, as you plan your schedules, we have, and I don't know, I get mixed reviews on this. We've tried to tweak it and update it over time. The classes that can be taught document gives a breakdown of certification endorsement areas and the classes that can be taught under those and the means for being highly qualified in those areas. You can find our administrative rules for teacher certification, administrator certification, counselor, and psychology there, and a list of our approved teacher prep institutions and programs if you're interested in adding endorsements, and accreditation information. Again, going back to the questions that I field regularly about what classes are appropriate to take for certification renewal or progression. I'll talk a little bit about what you may be looking at in terms of accreditation. Where to find information, again, two places that will probably be most useful are teacher cert page, so you can find the Facts on Educator Certification, and a link to MOEX. I thought I'd start today by talking about the rule changes that took effect last year on September 1st. Probably all of you know by now that there were changes to the administrative rules for teacher certification. These rules impact everyone, both provisional certified and professional certified individuals, and it's important for you to understand what these new requirements entail so that you can do what you need to do to keep your certificate current. I'll start talking about the provisional renewal. Does anybody in here have a provisional teaching certificate? Okay, so there are a handful of you. A provisional certificate can be renewed if upon its expiration you don't meet all the professional requirements, and I'll go over the professional requirements a little bit later. But a provisional can be renewed. It's a 3-year certificate. It expires on June 30th, 3 years from the year that it's issued. You can renew it. You can't renew it until the the actual year that your certificate expires. So January 1st of the year of your expiration would be the first time you could go in and apply for that. You would apply through MOEX. Before you can actually create your application, you have to put your professional learning into the system. So you would have to enter either your college credits or have your sketches into the system before the system would allow you to apply. And once you've put your credits in, applied, paid the fee, you have to mail in the requested documentation. For most likely, if you're renewing a provisional certificate, the requested documentation would either be an official transcript of your college credits, or there are some, I mean, if you're teaching outside of Michigan and you come back to Michigan, you can use your out-of-state experience also. For a first provisional renewal, you have to meet one of these requirements, and the requirement has to have been met after the issue date of your current certificate, and there's a second timeline stipulation. It's within 3 years of your date of application. So for example, if you were to apply for a provisional renewal today, you could go back 3 years from today and use your sketches or your college credit that you earned during that stretch of time. Of all the kind of confusion that I think some of our rule changes have created, this is one, because, I mean, your provisional certificate is potentially a 6.5-year certificate depending on when it was issued. However, your look-back window for using credits, if renewing your provisional, is only 3 years. So it's one of those things that's in rules that's a little confusing, but you know, it's one of those things that I'd like to really explicitly point out, just so you know, so you can be prepared for that. When we're talking about college credit, you have two choices, or two criteria really you can use when selecting credit. Number one, you can be enrolled in a planned program from an educator prep institution and taking credit in a sequence of a program. So a master's degree program, an additional endorsement program, something like that. If you're not interested in earning credit in the structure of a program, what you have to do is make sure that those 6 credits that you sign up for are appropriate to your grade levels and your content areas of your certificate, and that they're taken from a regionally accredited 2- or 4-year institution. It doesn't have to be from a teacher prep institution. So those credits, I get a lot of questions about this because I know teachers really want to make sure that whatever they're doing leads to their intended outcome, which is to keep their certificate current. So to reiterate the criteria, 6 credits in a planned program from an educator prep institution, or 6 credits appropriate to your grade levels and content areas from a 2- or 4-year regionally accredited institution. If you're not interested in earning credit, or if you prefer sketches, you can use sketches to renew a provisional also. Notice that it takes 180 state continuing education clock hours to renew a provisional certificate. Or you can do a combination of things. Say there's a 3-credit class that you wish to take. For each one of those semester credit hours you earn, it's equal to 30 hours. So in that example, you could take a 3-credit class, you'd earn 90 hours for that, and then supplement it with 90 sketch hours. Notice, not noted here, are district-provided professional development hours. So to renew a provisional, you have to have either college credit or sketches. Second renewal is basically the same. Let's say you get a first renewal and teach for those 3 years. Perhaps there's something deficient and you haven't been able to meet all the professional requirements. You can again renew your provisional certificate by either having 6 credits within the criteria I just explained, or 180 sketches, or a combination of the two that would be equal or equivalent to 180 hours. Again, you need to make sure that you're following the timeline stipulations for taking credit or earning sketches. Whatever college credit or sketches that you use, they have to have been earned after the issue date of whatever certificate you possess at that moment. So if you had the first renewal, that resets what your learning requirements are. So over that 3-year duration, 6 more credits or 180 sketches, or a combination of the two. Any questions about provisionals? Let's say there are circumstances beyond your control and you're unable to meet the requirements of a provisional renewal. You couldn't get the 6 credits, you couldn't do the 180 sketches. Our office does have something called a 2-year provisional extension. It's kind of a unique certificate. It is 2 years, so it's a literal title. It does require sponsorship from an employing district. So a district would log in, after a person applies for this, the district would log in to MOEX and approve the individual for this. In order to qualify for this, an initial provisional can't be more than 10 years past its expiration date. The teacher has to have a minimum of 1 year of experience, because over the 2 years, they have to have a full 3 years of experience. So 1 year going in, 2 more years added. Because the only certificate that's available to individuals that get a provisional extension is the professional certificate. So they have to have 1 year of experience going in, and they have to be enrolled in coursework that would be necessary for them to meet all the requirements of the professional certificate. And then, as I noted, get sponsorship from an employing district to just mentor them through the process and make sure they'll be ready to apply for the professional upon the expiration of their extension. Progressing to the professional yes, sir?
What are the circumstances beyond control?
I knew I shouldn't say that. I don't know, I mean, some sort of catastrophic life event. Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of separate, but I mean, you can get military extensions if you're serving in the armed forces. So, I mean, something that's prevented you from doing just the minimum in order to keep your certificate current.
We had an employee with an extreme health condition here at the ISD, and we work with her.
Yeah, typically that's what it is, some sort of medical event or something like that. Progressing to the professional certificate, these are the requirements. I mean, really there are 4 basic requirements to move from a provisional to a professional certificate. Number 1, you have to have 3 years of satisfactory teaching experience. By satisfactory, I mean the teacher will have to submit a paper with their application materials from their employing district, and they have to have a satisfactory service rating on that sheet of paper. The experience also has to be within the grade levels and the content areas specified on their certificate. So 3 years of teaching experience. There are actually 2 reading requirements. I think one gets overshadowed to some degree because in 2009 the reading diagnostic requirement took effect, and that kind of became the focus of everyone's attention. It was new, it wasn't built into teacher prep programs. So this one, it is in law. All teachers moving from a provisional to a professional certificate, regardless of their cert level, either elementary or secondary, has to take a 3-credit reading diagnostic class. Yes, ma'am?
Sure. My major is in reading and my master's is in reading.
Where'd you do your program?
My minor through my bachelor's is done through Central,
Okay.
and then my master's is 40 on it for reading specialist, and I'm working on it currently.
Okay. Concordia does have approved reading diagnostic classes, and it may be in the that class that they offer or classes are quite probably in the context of that program that you're in. But I would certainly work with an academic advisor there to be certain. So, I mean, there are no guarantees. So, a lot of people take out-of-state coursework and think that that's going to qualify. Yeah, just have dialogue with your teacher prep institution and make sure that you're going to not only meet the professional learning requirement by taking those classes, but also meet the reading diagnostic requirement. And I don't have course numbers. I know Concordia has them. I know Central has them. But yeah, I can't see any reason how you could come through a program like that and not meet that requirement. Just be certain. The other requirement is what we refer to as the reading methods requirement, and it's 3 credits if you have if you're secondary certified. It's 6 credits if you're elementary certified. Now, what most people I think don't realize, they don't realize this requirement exists, but they also don't realize that they probably met the requirement already. Since the since the 80s, mid-80s, programs have been approved to have these credits in them. If you did a secondary program in Michigan, you probably, even if you're, an integrated, if you have an integrated science endorsement, if you went through CMU, EMU, MSU, a program in Michigan, you had a reading strategies, reading in the content area, reading methods course that was part of your program. So I'll talk about recency requirements and stuff like that as it relates to administrative rules. The reading requirement can have been met through your undergraduate teacher preparation training. Question?
What about those individuals with K-12 certifications, special?
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, and chances are that was also part of your teacher preparation too. Did you do a Michigan program?
I don't remember doing a reading class, but I am visual arts. I don't know.
Okay.
If it's ever part of my
It's probably on there.
Okay.
I would be willing to say that it's on there, but be
Okay.
certain. The program approval people work with the teacher prep institutions in our office to create those programs, and I mean, those have been built in for quite some time, but double check. The ones that I do, visual arts, phys ed, music,
Yeah.
but even those, if you've done a Michigan program, you should have the class. So number 1 requirement, experience. Number 2 requirement, reading diagnostic. Number 3, reading methods. And then the 4th requirement is what I refer to as a professional learning requirement. And it looks a lot like what you saw in previous slides. The 6 credits either in a planned program or 6 credits appropriate to grade level and content from a 2 or 4 year regionally accredited institution. 180 sketches, but what you didn't see on the other slides was the district provided professional development. So new in 2012, maybe I shouldn't say that. So if you had a professional, you could renew it with DPPD effective 2012. If you're progressing to a professional, effective 2013, you can use district provided professional development. The way that it works, well, and you can see the note at the bottom. I did explain kind of the conversion for college credits. So for every semester credit hour, we're talking about 30 clock hours of sketches or 30 clock hours of district provided professional development. Where it gets a little confusing, let's say you're using district provided professional development exclusively, so nothing else to meet the professional learning requirement. If you are to earn 30 hours each year, over 5 years, for the 150 aggregate, you can use district provided professional development and only district professional development, and you only have to get to 150. So, a lot of questions come about it. What if I hit 27 one year? That means 33 the next year. I'm still on track for 150. Not necessarily. You have to do the full 30 each year to get 150. If you come up short, you have to supplement it with something else, either semester credit hours or sketches. And instead of your target being 150 at that point, it's now 180. So 6 credits, 180 sketches, 150 DPPD at 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, or a combination equal to 180.
Can you explain, what's the rationale for 150 DPPD, or if you go sketches 180 or kind of?
I don't know if anyone can rationalize that.
Okay.
It was, before DPPD was introduced, there was equivalency between the 6 hours and the 180, 6 credits and the 180. When DPPD got introduced, the intent was to align it with what the law requires districts to offer, is the way that I understand it. Now, so the law, 1527 states that districts have to provide their teachers with 5 days annually of district-provided professional development, what we equate to 30 hours. So it evolved into 5 times 6 equals 30 annually. 30 times 5 equals 150. It works that way, but then when you try to match it up with the other stuff, not so much. Trust me, there's been a lot of discussion on this. It's something that, ideally, you're right, it should be standard across the board. At this point, it's not. And back to your original question, I don't know that anyone can rationalize it. The process to apply for your professional certificate, MOEX is 3 years old now, or it's going on 3 years old. But, depending on when your certificate was last issued, you may not have any exposure to MOEX at all. The process for using MOEX to apply for certification. To apply for your professional, you're going to log into MOEX, and the first thing you have to do before you can even apply is put in your professional learning. So if you're a teacher, you have to either enter 6 credits into the system, or you have to enter your DPPD, 30 each year over 5 years for 150. And the system is smart enough to recognize if you've met the professional learning requirement, and then will allow you to apply. If we're talking about sketches, you won't put your sketches into the system. Your sketches will migrate over from another system, and I'll talk about that process a little bit later. But you have to have either the 6 credits, the 180 sketches, or the 150 DPPD for this before the system will allow you to apply. And then you'll apply. So you'll create an online application through the MOEX system, and you'll pay your fee online with a credit card. And then you'll print an application cover letter that'll have directions and a checklist for mailing the required documentation to our office. Included with this will be an experience report form that you get filled out by your district, verifying that you've completed 3 years of satisfactory teaching experience within your grade levels and your content areas. You'll also have to send in official transcripts. These official transcripts will have to verify that you've met the professional learning requirement if you're using credits, and we'll also have to see that you've met the 2 reading requirements. So the reading diagnostic class, and we'll even probably need a transcript of your undergraduate teacher prep so that we can just make sure that you have the reading methods. And then if you're using DPPD, you'll need the necessary forms for that, and I can talk a little bit about what's required in terms of forms for DPPD in a little bit. One of the things that I've been seeing coming into our office that's been holding up the process for some teachers is a lot of the universities are offering their transcripts electronically now. We request everyone, when they apply, to get all documentation sent to them so that they can round up everything and then send it in one application packet with an application cover letter. Herein lies the problem. If a university sends an electronic transcript to you and you print it and then send it to a third party, it's no longer an official transcript. So if you're going to be applying and you have to furnish transcripts, you can do one of 2 things. You can request that the university send it directly to our office to this email address. It's called moexsupport@michigan.gov. Or you can have them snail mail it to you, included in your application packet, to mail to us. I never advocate for people to send stuff directly to, have a university send it directly to us. Sometimes it just increases the potential for something to be misplaced. Maybe the name on the transcript is, you got married and it's different from your current name, there's no identifier there. So we always advocate for teachers to get it snail mailed to you. So be proactive and budget yourself enough time for the process. But if there's a time crunch and some level of urgency, you can have it sent to us electronically. It has to come directly from the university to our office to this email address. This is a screenshot of the teacher cert page. I chopped out a lot of it because this stuff is at the bottom. But if you're looking for a reading diagnostic class, we have something that under specialty programs, it's just a 2-column table that has the university on one side and the course that offers it. Also, you'll find, if you're interested in adding endorsements, there's a list of our educator prep institutions and the programs that they offer. Also included there, this must have been, I think I did this before it was added, there's a list of the regional the entities that offer regional accreditation there. So if you're looking at finding classes that are appropriate for grade level and content, and you're looking at a university and you're not sure if it'll work, you can look at the list that we have on that page too. And actually, this is it. So let's say you're looking to meet the reading or the professional learning requirements, and you don't want to do a planned program. You would have to take a course or courses that are appropriate to grade level and content from a college or university that is accredited by one of these entities. Probably the best way to do it would be to go to the university's website and look it up. And if you can answer affirmative to 2 questions, number 1, is this class appropriate for my grade levels and content areas? Number 2, is it from a regional, does the university have regional accreditation? Then it's, it's thumbs up from us. I think a lot of times, we don't have the staff to really pre-approve every course that everyone takes. I know teachers want that peace of mind, and if I get somebody on the phone and they're asking me, I'll look it up and I'll say, tell me what you're certified to teach, tell me where you're taking it, I'll pull it up on the screen, and again, if it's in your wheelhouse for what you teach, and if it's from a university that has the regional accreditation, then you're good to go. I know there are some gray areas when selecting courses. If you're elementary certified, you have a K-5 all subjects, it would be pretty hard to find anything that's not in the context of K-5 all. We're talking all your core areas. All is literal, and it does include specialty courses. I don't know, I did an elementary prep course, and I don't think I ever would have wanted to teach music or gym. Well, I could probably teach gym. That didn't sound, back up the tape, that didn't sound, no, music, I don't know. But you can take classes that are appropriate for those areas as well. I just popped my battery out.
What if you're secondary, you have secondary content areas, but you have an endorsement? For example, I have a counseling endorsement, so all of my continuing ed I've done within the counseling
Yeah,
arena.
absolutely.
And I've kind of ignored, the content areas for the secondary license. That's acceptable, isn't it?
It is acceptable. Yeah. Some people like this graphic, some people don't. I won't tell you which category I'm in because I like the person that created it. This just kind of helps you understand the timeline that you're looking at in that gap that I mentioned earlier. For an individual who has their initial provisional and is looking to get a first renewal, again, that's a 6-year duration, but your look-back window for using credit or sketches is only 3 years. That's been kind of a sticky point. So understand that. Otherwise, it's pretty overlapping. Since the issue date of your current certificate and within 3 years of the time that you apply. If you have a lapse in certification, there's a potential for this to move on you a little bit. So let's say maybe you got this in 2010, you took some time off, now it's 2015 and you're applying. You can't go all the way back to 2010 anymore, you can only go back 3 years from your application date. The bottom one just shows you if you're going right from your initial provisional to your professional. Your look-back time is 5 years, and you can use sketches, credit, or district-provided professional development from that time.
I have a question about the district-provided PD.
Yeah.
If the PD is planned out throughout the school year and your license expires at the end of June, how much time should you permit if you still have PD in May or maybe even June?
It's a great question, and it depends on what certification you have. So you can't use it for a provisional renewal, but let's say you're moving from a provisional to a professional certificate, and there is a potential that you're going to be taking some PD towards the end of the school year. Your certificate's expiring on June 30th. Right now, I mean, processing time on applications can be, during our busy time, during summer, potentially 4 to 6 weeks. And that's basically from the time you go into our work queue, which means you've met all the professional requirements, you've applied, you've rounded up all your required documentation and mailed it to our office. So, I mean, if you're moving from a provisional to a professional and you're using DPPD that's coming towards the end of the school year, probably your best idea would be to make sure you get all other documentation together and ready to ship into our office. And then as soon as you earn that last PD, put it into the system, print it off, get the paperwork signed by your district, and get it into us right away. The thing about certification, and some districts may have policies to the contrary, our office, our approach is, yes, your certificate expires on June 30th. You need to have a valid certificate when you return to work in the fall. That probably makes building administrators cringe when I say that, because they want to be proactive, obviously, and make sure teachers have the appropriate credentials. There are no lapses in certificate. I mean, it puts the district in peril when we're talking about state aid penalties and stuff like that. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, the processing time is such that you may not have your certificate renewed or, I guess, progressed by the time June 30th rolls around if you're on that kind of deadline. Now, if you have your professional certificate already, there's really no front-end evaluation process with that. So basically, if you have your professional certificate and you're renewing it, you basically put your professional learning in, apply for the certificate, pay the fee, make sure you have all the pertinent documentation for your own file, because some of those will be audited on the back end at a later time. But there's no lag time in processing there. So if you have a professional certificate and you're using DPPD, you're at the end of March or end of May or beginning of June, you'd have plenty of time to renew your professional certificate. It's only for those certificates that have to be evaluated by our office.
But if I might say, did you run into problems though if you're running a summer program and there's?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, if you're teaching in the summer, there's absolutely you can't have any lapse in certification. And I'm so glad you pointed that out. Secondly, too, be very mindful of what your district's policy on this is. They can create a policy and say, look, you have an expiring certificate this summer, you need to have it renewed by, and you're bound by what your district tells you. From our end, you can't be in a classroom unless you have a current certificate. Okay. So the renewal process, I just touched on that. So the renewal process, same requirements. There isn't an experience requirement, there isn't a reading requirement for a professional once you have it. It's just a matter of meeting the professional learning requirements, which are listed here. And again, what I was said in that last question, it's a different process than what you've gone through as a teacher before, where you always have to submit documentation and be approved for the certification. With a professional renewal, it's renewed the second that you put the information in, apply for it, pay the fee. Just make sure that you've done what you need to do to get that renewal, and make sure that you have the necessary documentation to substantiate it if you're ever audited at a later time. When I say necessary documentation, I mean if you put in college credit, you need to have an official transcript showing that you took that credit. If you put in DPPD, you need to have, our process is you have a printout of the stuff you put into the system. Attached to it, you have a document by your building administrator or someone designated by your district authorizing you to use that PD. So again, we don't request that on the front end, but you need to have all that in order in anticipation of ever being audited at a later time. Yes?
I put all my sketches in the system already, plus I have my credits. If I have more than enough credits to cover that, do I have to print out proof for the sketches too?
Tell me what you're trying to do with it. Are you,
Well, I don't have my 3 years teaching under my belt, but I have everything else to renew a provisional, so I can't go to a professional.
okay. Yeah, I mean, my advice to teachers, be proactive and as you earn DPPD, put it in.
It's
As
all
you earn
in
the
there.
college credit, put it in. You may not be able to apply at that moment, but have it in there. It's easier than trying to go back 3 years, 4 years, 5 years and document it.
But I have to reapply this year, and I've got 15 credits in there already. Do I need to
Okay.
give you all the information, or can I just give you the transcript from that school with 15 credits and just call it good, since it's
So-
more than enough to cover renewing my provisional?
So you have an expiring provisional certificate, expires this summer, and you've got 15 credits in your planned reading program. Okay. But you don't have the 3 years of experience. Okay. So yeah, what you would do is you'd apply through MOEX, you put those, and you said you've put them into the system already?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll have to answer some qualifier questions as you're making your application. One of those qualifiers will be about the 3 years of experience. So yes or no answers to those put you on track for one certificate or another. So you'll answer no to the years of experience. It'll put you on track for a provisional first renewal. And you'll have to pay the fee, and you'll print the application cover letter, and you'll mail official transcripts of your college credit to us.
But I don't need to send anything on my sketches, those can just.
No, in fact, your sketches, sketches are totally different from your DPPD and your college credit, because, and I'll talk about the process that you go through with your sketch coordinators and the SCR, because, there's a protocol with sketches where you sign up for it, you attend it, pay the fee if there is one, do an online survey or evaluation, and then the coordinator puts that into the secure central registry for you, and then there's something that you can do from your end to link it up to MOEX, which is where you need them. But yeah, that's a totally different process than college credit and DPPD. Applying for the professional renewal we just talked about, so you'll log into MOEX, you'll put your professional learning in, or you'll double check to make sure that your sketches are in MOEX and that they've come over from the secure central registry. And if you have met the 6 credit requirement, the 180 sketches or the 150 DPPD, what you'll do is you'll apply online, pay the fee, and your certificate will be renewed. And you can print your own certificate right from the system. MOEX allows you to print certificates. And we don't mail out certificates any longer, so you'll print your certificate. You've got to sign the teacher oath, have it notarized, and once you've done so, it's an official document that you can provide to your district. Rule changes created a new cert type, the Advanced Professional Education Certificate. It too is a 5-year certificate, like the professional certificate. It says here on the slide it's available after September 1st of last year. Technically, this won't be available until, I believe, 2016 is the earliest. The Advanced Professional Certificate is available to individuals who hold a professional certificate and have either completed the National Board Certification process or have completed a teacher leader training or program, and in conjunction with that have also received 5 consecutive years of effective or highly effective service ratings. This is usually where about 4 to 10 hands shoot up in the room saying, what's the point? Well, is anyone else wondering that? Just being too polite? Okay. That was my first, when I started with the department and I saw this, I said, what's the point? We're working on that, I guess. Obviously you're going to have your teachers that want to be at the best, or want to be considered the best, and this is the proverbial gold star, I guess. Some discussion, the standards have been created for the teacher leader programs. We haven't had any teacher leader programs approved yet. But in reality, I mean, we're looking at this a little more closely and saying, what would, I mean, there could be the internal motivation by a teacher to say, hey, this shows I'm great, I have the advanced professional educator certification. We're just looking at some extrinsic motivation here too. One of the things that we've talked about potentially is maybe a longer duration for that certificate or something like that. To me, that makes sense. We'll see how that evolves. If you're interested in national board certification, you can find information on our website, and there's also some standards. If you go to the national board, if you just Google national board, you can find information about it. Krista Reed in our office is the contact person on national board certification. Here's another graphic. This one probably makes a little more sense in terms of the duration of your certificate, and maybe I didn't explain this very well in the last one. But this is the duration of your certificate. This is the look-back time in terms of using credit, sketches, or district-provided professional development. So as it stands right now, your professional certificate is a 5-year certificate. Your look-back window is 5 years. It's a pretty good match. The same too would be true with the advanced professional unless changed. Additional requirements beyond the 6 credits, 180 sketches, and 150 DPPD would be these items here for the advanced professional certificate, which would be the 5 years of consecutive effective or highly effective ratings, and then either the completion of the national board program or a teacher leader program.
Is there any conversation about using national board certification within a specialist area, occupational therapist, counselor, or is it only within, a teacher?
You know what, I'm not sure.
Because most of those professions are national board certified also.
Right, I don't know. Krista would be able to talk to you about that though. Krista Reed in our office. I'm not sure. In fact, I'm glad you asked the question that I don't know, and I'm sure it won't be the first one, but if somebody would be so kind as to write down the questions I say I don't know to, and then at least I can make a list that I can send back to the ISD too when I do get those answers. Thank you. Administrator renewals, very similar to what the teacher renewals are. 6 credits or 180 sketches. Again, notice that DPP is not included in this. The rule changes for teacher certification included DPPD. No such modification has been made for administrator certification. There is kind of a roundabout way to use DPPD, I guess, if you're an administrator. There is kind of a part in the administrative rules for administrators that state that if you've met the requirements for the professional teaching certificate, so that's the professional teaching certificate, so you've met the professional learning requirements for that, then you are also perceived to have met the requirements for your administrator cert. So you have a valid if you have a valid professional certificate, you can use that as a basis for renewing your administrator certificate. Our programming in MOEX doesn't accommodate that yet, but you can contact Katie in our office, and I put her number there, and she can help you with that. Like the professional certificate, the administrator certificate is a 5-year certificate. It expires 5 years on June 30th, 5 years from the year that it was issued. Yes?
You were a central officer building administrator prior to January 1, 2010. You don't need that though, correct?
That's right, and if you've been in that position prior to January of 2010, and you don't have your administrator cert, you can remain in that position as long as you're doing the professional learning requirements. So as long as you're taking the 6 credits or the 180 over those 5 years. Yeah, that's the grant person clause that is available to administrators.
So when you would log in, speaking for colleagues that have been around for a long time, they don't log into this typically. probably. Because there was no requirement for administrators, then when they came out,
Yeah,
With the
what is the
2010.
process for that?
I don't think there is one.
Raja Smart is our administrator certification guy. I don't know if I brought all my contact information in. Raja Smart, if you have an administrator who needs anything administrator cert related, he's the guy in our office to talk to about that. MOEX, we've talked about it. Before you can use MOEX, you have to have a MEIS account. Anytime someone does something through any system at MDE, they have to have an authenticated username and password. Your authenticated username and password comes from creating what's called a MEIS account. It's the Michigan Education Information System. So I know this is really confusing. You say, okay, I need to use MOEX for certification, but wait, I have to go to MEIS first? And the answer is yes. Going to MEIS gives you the username and the password. And if you go through the steps, you probably go to MEIS without even realizing it because it's just linked right in the MOEX login page. So you'll click on the link and you'll go there and you'll create your account. It's really important that you not create a second account. The system will allow you to do so only up to a certain point, and then you'll get a message saying, call our office, because chances are you probably created a second account. I know it doesn't really make sense. Why would it allow you to do so? Well, the system is trying to figure out if you are John Smith from Traverse City or Smith from Lansing. So it'll allow you to get so far until you give an identifier that matches or overlaps, and at that point, you've gone too far. It's a point of no return. You have to call our office. Anytime you need to do anything related to your certificate, you can do it in MOEX. This includes applying for certificates, printing certificates, managing your demographic information, entering your college credit, your PD, checking on your sketches, locating your PIC number, which I'll explain in a little while, applying for additional endorsements. All of that can be done through MOEX. You can go directly to the website, which is michigan.gov/MOEX, and you'll see this blue login tab. Or you can go to our teacher cert page, which will have a link to MOEX. MOEX, again, Michigan Online Educator Certification System. You'll click on it even if you've never been there before, and it will take you to this page. So if you've gone through the process of creating a personal MEIS account, you'll have a login ID and a password, and you'll be able to log into the system and do what you intend to do. If you haven't, you'll see this right here, create new login and password. And really what it's doing when you click on that is it's taking you to the MEIS system, and you're creating your MEIS account. So once there, you'll have to set up a MEIS account. My wife was looking at these slides last night, and she said, oh, so the first name is Doe, last name John. I don't know how many people have looked at that. What you'll do is you'll put in your personal information, and depending on how common your name is, you may get this message. So if you have a relatively common name, chances are those footprints have been put before you already. The system's going to notify you that somebody with that name has already been here before. And it'll ask you, it'll still give you the option of proceeding. So at this point, I've talked to a lot of teachers who, right when at the inception of MOEX back in 2011, they had a few minutes, they created an account, maybe didn't have to do anything right away, forgot about it, and now flash forward 3 years later, they're in here, they're like, did I do an account? I did one through ORS, and there's a lot of, you guys have to create so much stuff, so many different accounts. You may not be certain in reality and looking at it, did I really create an account? I'm not sure. If you don't think you have, you'll click to continue. That must have been somebody else named John Smith that was here before me. If you think you have, you can contact our office. Like anything else, you'll have to put in some pertinent information. The login ID will be assigned to you. It'll be a portion of your last name, depending on how long it is, and a portion of your first name. So for those of you that always create your own login IDs for everything else, this is something you won't use very often, and it's been created for you. Potentially you'll lose track of this. You do get to create your own password, but there are certain things that you have to do in order to do so. One uppercase, one lowercase, a numeric character, and a symbol. You'd be surprised at how many people, you have to select 3 security questions, and the thing that's a little tricky about this, if you ever misplace your password or your login ID, you'll, on your system, put in answers to your security questions, but it's case sensitive. Let's say you say your favorite vacation place is, I don't know, Florida, but it's a city in Florida. I mean, there are so many people that get hung up here. So use things that, I know you probably have told this, all have been told this, use something that you know you can retrieve, not just in your mind, but also replicate when you put into the system. I highly encourage you guys to do this after you've created your account. You get a page that has all your information on it. It tells you to do so at the top of the page. Print it out and just put it in a secure place. This isn't going to be something that you'll use every day like your email or something else. You'll want to have something that you can reference for when you need to go back and use it again. Once you get done with the MEIS, you'll see at the bottom it'll have a link to click back to MOEX, and then you'll click back and you'll put in your user ID and password that you've just created. Whether you're an administrator, teacher, school psych, school counselor, you're an educator, so you'll select that. People can use MOEX for non-personal reasons, like your districts use MOEX, but it's a district account, so there are other things that you can use it as a teacher prep institution and so forth. But for your purposes, for your own personal purposes, you're an educator. You'll have to answer yes or affirmative to one of these 2 to get you through. They're just validation questions. Either you currently hold a certificate or you're applying for a new certificate, or you could answer yes to both of those. There's 5 pieces of information that you'll put in, and it'll check against the information that we have on you already. Those 5 pieces, if there's any discrepancy, you'll get locked out. So your name, first and last, your social, your gender, and your birthday. If for any reason you put any of this information in wrong, you'll have to contact our office. It'll lock you out until we get everything fixed. Next step, you can update anything here from when, I mean, if you haven't been into the system for 5 years, your phone number could change, your email could change. We really want you to keep a current email because we do send out announcements on when your certificates are expiring, just as a reminder. So when you're in, update your email, make any necessary changes. Your last name, if you should have a name change. Also, another piece of information that's really important that you find in your managed demographics would be your PIC, your personal identification code. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but when you go into managed demographics, it's here.
If you update that stuff on MOEX, does it transfer back over to MEIS?
Once you're done with MEIS, don't ever even
As long
think
as you
about
log
MEIS.
on.
MEIS is
Okay.
ancient history. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, yeah.
Okay.
Once you've created your account in MEIS, there's really no incentive to go back. Even if things change, don't worry about changing it in MEIS. MEIS is just, you've got your user ID and password, now just use MOEX. You'll know you've been successful in creating your account when you see these blue tabs going down on the left side of your screen. All of these, I can do a little demo a little bit later if you like, but the home, anytime you're at the home and you have pending certificates, you'll see those listed. Your managed demographics section, that'll have all your information that you need to, if anything changes, updated there. To apply for certification, you'll do that by clicking the Apply for Educator Cert tab. You can apply for additional endorsements. Again, earlier I mentioned that you can print your certificate. There's a Print Certificate tab here. You'll just have to click the little radio dial to the left of the one that you want, download it and print it. It will be an 8.5 by 11 of your certificate. It has everything on it that the old certificates used to have that were mailed to you. You can look at your certificate to see when it expires. There's the View Update Professional Learning tab, the second from the bottom. The PD that you put into the system, the college credit that you put into the system, this is the tab that you'll click to do so. And then when you apply, there are sometimes different forms that you need in order to apply, like the form you need to verify your work experience. That form can be found in the form section. Make sure you click the edit button at the bottom. Sometimes that gets overlooked. You go to manage demographics and all the fields seem static. It doesn't seem like you can manipulate them at all. The edit button is sometimes hidden at the bottom. You've got to click it. All right, probably the most important tab other than the one to apply is your professional learning tab. So you'll see 3 of your mechanisms for renewal at the top there: college credit, sketches, or district provided professional development. District provided has anyone renewed yet using DPPD? Has anyone tried to do that? You have, sort of?
Right at the beginning, I think 12, I printed it off and went through it all.
Okay, all right. The process, and we've tried to tweak it, again, DPPD is certainly not a new thing, but it is new in terms of a mechanism for your certificate renewal. As such, I think we're going to have some growing pains with it. We've established a protocol to follow for that. I don't know if it's perfect. It does kind of, I feel like it kind of guards from all angles, but I don't know if we could smooth it or make it a little bit better. But for district provided professional development, the process that you'll go through, the first thing that you'll do is you'll have to enter all of your DPPD into the MOEC system. So you'll do so by clicking on this tab right here. And then there's an add button that you'll click, and you'll put it all in there. After you've put in, now if you're looking to do just DPPD, you'll have to do 30/5 for 150. That doesn't mean that you can't use it if you can't get there. So you'll put in your DPPD, all of it that you have. And you'll print all the pages after you've put it into the system. So you'll have screenshots of all your DPPD into the MOEC system. And then there's a form. So also on the page where you're putting your DPPD in, there's a form, your district provided professional development for certificate renewal form that's linked there. So you'll put all the hours into the system, you'll do a screenshot of it, and then you'll print out those forms that are linked at the bottom of the page. Now it's one form for every year of DPPD that you're using. So in other words, your district has to authorize you to use the DPPD for each school year. Once you have those 2 forms, or once you have the forms filled out, and you have the screenshot attached to the form, and your administrator will also initial on the attachments, that's the protocol, or that's the documentation necessary for using DPPD. Now if you're using it to progress to a professional, you'll have to send that to our office with the other required documents. If you're using it to renew a professional, you'll keep those documents for your own record, again, if you're ever audited at a later time. Here's the process for putting it in. I did this a while back also, and it's depending on how you've kept track of it or how your district has kept track of it over the years, may kind of determine how easy or difficult this could be. I actually worked in a district and we had this online system for tracking it called Kelpa, and it really wasn't that hard because I could do a printout of everything that I had attended. You had the name, the date, we had to put in a code to verify that we attended. And so what I did is I used that printout to put everything into the system. You might work with your district on what might work best for you. However that's been tracked, here's what you'll need to put in. You'll have to provide the title of the activity. You'll have to categorize it in some way from a pull-down tab. So what was the intent or purpose or focus of the PD that you attended? Do your best to put it into one of these categories. I don't know that they're all inclusive, but I think they're pretty inclusive. You'll list the school district. I've had a few people call me on this. If you have fast fingers, sometimes this field is actually set up to recognize all the school districts. So if you put in like 3 or 4 characters and pause for a second, your district or any district that would match those 3 or 4 characters will pop up and you can choose it. Otherwise, I've had people say, I can't put it in, it's not allowing. Put the number of hours and then put the date that you completed it.
And that's for each one, each session.
For each one. It potentially is quite labor intensive depending on how your district structures DPPD. I mean, if you do 1-hour PLCs, get your fingers ready. It's going to take some time. Again, it's a trade. I mean, I guess I kind of view it as a trade-off, using that versus using college credit. Is it a perfect system? No. But yeah, you're right. You do have to put in each activity as you go. Yes?
So if you're doing an ongoing, say, hour per week PLC, you want one entry for every single week?
That's what I've been told.
Okay, because the subject matter might change?
Yeah,
Otherwise, if you did the same, if you had the same goal and you broke it up into 12 weeks, could you do one form for 12 hours?
it's certainly something to consider, and it makes sense to me. The way it's been discussed is they want to see it itemized.
But the date only lets you select one.
It
date.
won't allow you to do a date range.
Yeah.
It's certainly, like I said, we understand that this is new and there are probably going to be growing pains, and we hope to be able to accommodate and change over time, but it is a system as it exists right now.
Is there a way to do less than an hour?
I think you can only do
An hour? Okay, so 50 minutes. is an
although I
hour.
have seen tenths and hundreds, but it's been with the whole number too.
Okay, all right.
I think it has to be a minimum of an hour.
You do.
Can somebody write that as a question though, if you are writing questions, please?
So my PLCs are an hour and a half. So can you put in an hour and a half, or does it have to be?
You could put in 1.5.
Okay. I wasn't sure they wanted full numbers.
You can put in 1.5. This is what it might look like after you put it in. And again, you'll see at the bottom there's a link to the page that you can get your form. The thing about when you click this link, it will take you to a page that has multiple forms on it. The form that you need is district provided professional development for certificate renewal. So there are other forms there, and they may even look like the right forms, and I apologize for that, but the form that you want is a district provided professional development for certificate renewal form. This is the form that you have to take with you to your district. Again, one of these for each school year that you're using. So attached to this form will be the screenshots of the DPPD that you put into MOEX. You will fill out the top portion, and your district will fill out the bottom portion. When I did it, I had to go to a couple different building administrators for different schools that I had taught in. It doesn't hurt to throw a feeler out to your district and just say, this is what I need, who should I talk to, and you know, throw that out there. The 4 questions at the bottom have to be completed. You'd be surprised sometimes. I mean, I know how overwhelmed administrators and teachers get with paperwork and protocol and policy. Just make sure that these get completed. Number 1, yes or no, did you attend all 5 days? It doesn't have to be yes. When I taught, my administrator answered no because I had only been there for half a year, but I still used the PD that I had. Let's see, does the district have enough documentation in case of an audit? Districts may be a little nervous about this. I mean, PD's been around for a long time, but using it as a means to renew a certificate, districts have every prerogative to say, no, I don't know how confident we are going back 5 years. And if they do, then they do, and that's the way it is. You'd have to find something else. Is it appropriate for grade levels and content of your certificate? And the last one, sometimes this gets overlooked. Have you initialed the attached pages? So again, you'll have screenshots of your PD that you put into the system. They'll be attached to this page. Your administrator will flip over, just initial that they've looked at it, and then sign a date at the bottom. Again, if you're using this to go from a provisional to a professional, you need to send it to us. It'll be part of your application packet. If you're renewing a professional, retain it for your own file. Keep it in a safe place. Somebody may ask to see it later. Yes?
I thought I understood you to say that the DPPD could not be used to go from provisional to professional.
The DPPD can't be used to renew a provisional certificate. It can be used to move from a provisional to a professional certificate. So DPPD, renew a professional or progress to a professional, you can use it. If you're renewing a provisional, you can't use it. You've got to do college credit or sketches, or a tandem of both. Of all the convoluted stuff that we sometimes put out, I would rank this near the top. So much going on in these short narratives here about what you need to do if you're going to use sketches. Sketches, you can use them for provisional renewals, moving to the professional renewals. You can use them for your administrator cert, you can use them for your counselor cert, you can use them for your school psych cert. What's confusing is, for sketches, all your sketch information is kept in the secure central registry. That does nothing for you in terms of applying for certification. So there's a process that you have to go through to link the two systems, to get the secure central registry data to migrate over to MOEX, which is where you need it to apply. And the process is logging into, how many of you have been into your SCR and checked out what you've earned for sketches before? When you log into the SCR, and it's been revamped a couple months ago, so there's some different things that exist now, but what's standard is, as soon as you put in your user ID and your password, your first screen that you'll see will have a question at the top about, are you required to use sketches to renew or progress your certificate? And it defaults to a no answer. If you change that to a yes, you'll see different fields that you can put data into. The first field you'll see is your PIC field. And you'll need to put in your PIC number, your personal identification code. And you'll save it at the bottom, and in doing so, those two systems are now linked. Your secure central registry, where all your sketches are, and MOEX, which is where you apply for certification, are now linked. It happens automatically, it doesn't happen instantly. So in 3 or 4 days, whatever you see in your unofficial transcript in the SCR will be in MOEX where you need it to apply. Any questions about that? It explains that here. I don't know if people read that, and I don't know if they get beyond a couple of sentences and say, what in the world is this? So that's the process. I mean, you have to have your PIC into the Secure Central Registry. And when you do, whatever you take and earn through your sketch coordinators, or whatever you earn for sketches, migrates into MOEX where you need it. Did I start your question? Yes?
Alex, several times during the year, our sketch coordinator here, who's sitting over there, Katie Grimm, receives telephone calls from people who say, teachers who say, how come I attended a certain PD, but I didn't get credit, I didn't get sketches? would you go through the process of, you know?
I will, and if you want to add your insight to it too, that'd be great. The sketch part is, in the SER stuff is a little foreign to me. I copied and pasted a bunch of stuff in here. It's not typically what I deal with, but I'm happy to go over some general stuff, and if you think of stuff as I'm going over it,
Sure, or Katie,
please
if you
chime
do.
in, or Katie, if you wanted to add to the conversation. The process, as I understand it, and I don't, again, not all the finite details, but if you wish to earn sketches for an activity, you can find those activities online. You can work with your ISD and sketch coordinators to help you find, I don't know, do you guys offer advice on locating stuff, or do you just kind of, okay. So the protocol is this, I mean, you have to sign up in advance, you have to attend the full thing, sign out at the end. If there is a fee associated with the sketch, you have to pay that fee. And then through the Secure Central Registry, SCR, you have to complete an online evaluation of the activity. And I believe once you've done all of those things, then whomever the sponsoring agency is will put those hours into the system for you. I'm getting one of these, no?
Perhaps if I, how it happens here, is when we offer, have an offering, and people register, and then when you show up, you know, you print in your name, and on our list, you know, you initial in, and it's very, very important, do not initial out at that point. Because if you do that, and then when you leave later on, you will not get the credit. That's one reason why people say, why didn't I get credit for it? We are not allowed to accept someone to initial out before the PD is even over with. So you initial in, you attend the full instruction hours, typically means you would sit here and only take a break if we're offering sketches and what's sketches during the specified, don't shoot the messenger, these are long. And specifically take a break during the designated break time so that you were there for the full instruction time. At the end of the instruction time, then when you go out, you initial out at that point. You also have that piece of paper that you fill out and you turn that in. Our sketch coordinator will pick that up. Katie, do you want to wave your hand so people can see? Who is this? This is Katie Graham, our ISD sketch coordinator. She collects that, she gets the information to the state. The state will take that email address that you put on that form to contact you, to let you know, then to go online. You are required to complete an evaluation. If you do not complete the evaluation, you will not get sketches. So once you do that, and there is a $2.50 fee that they pay. By the way, the ISD does not charge you, Alex mentioned, does not charge you for sketches here. That is a service that the ISD provides. We cover the costs of those for you. But you do have that $2.50 charge that goes to the state for the evaluation. Then at the end, you can check the central registry to see that, yes, there that is, I have received the credit for it. So there are different ways that if you also think, why didn't I get credit for that? I attended it. You know, if you don't sign in at the beginning and out at the end, if you forget to go online or fill out that piece of paper, and which we get to Katie so that she can send that to the state on your behalf. And then to follow through to go online to the evaluation, whatever else you have to do. Katie, is there anything else that I missed?
No, but I think the biggest thing is people are missing is they're not initialing out at the end, or they initial in and out at the beginning, and then we put an X over your name, so that you think you've already initialed in. When you got there, you don't have to check back out at the end of the day. But you truly do have to check back out at the end of the day, because otherwise you won't receive those sketches, because we did put an X through your name. And I know that a lot of different trainings that other schools have, we need to have mentors that are monitoring the trainings, be doing the same thing consistently, so that when you're attending a TBAISD train, or you go to another school district and they have the same training, that we're all doing the same thing, following the same steps. And the other thing is if they don't fill out the participation form, I've had people email me and say, hey, why didn't I get it? Well, you didn't fill out the participation form. If you don't fill out the participation form, you won't receive sketches. I know on some of the sign in and out sheets, there's a check mark box that you can check that says, yes, I want to receive sketches. But if you don't fill out the form, you won't get them either. And another big thing I can't stress enough is making sure that you're putting your correct email address on the participation form that you have tied with your SCR account. Because if you put on your home email address on your participation form and you're on the SCR account, you're using your school email address, I'm gonna get an error when I upload it. You will still get an email on your account that says, you know, your valuation's ready to be paid, but I will get an error on my end. So those are big, you know, make sure that you, whatever account you have tied with your SCR MOX email address that you're putting on the participation form.
So I'm sure all of you are wondering, well, why are they such sticklers on all of these rules? Well, good luck there you have. The reason that we are such a stickler, we have to be, because this is what the state requires us. If we were to let people sign out and they leave early and going on things, it isn't fair, because those who stayed got all the instruction. It went to their certification. And also, the biggest thing of why we do this is if the state comes down and says you're not following the regulations, they can say, okay, TBAISD, you are no longer going to be able to offer sketches or to have us as the application. Other entities in and around the city also go through Katie to get sketches, but this is a service now, again, that we have for you. That's why we are really sticklers. So when you go out and have to wait in line, you know, bear with us, and we really do appreciate your cooperation. Same with you.
I just wanted to mention that when you do your evaluation form, or when you first receive it, do pay attention to the time frame, because there is a limit on the amount of time you have to complete that form. And one of the people in my building had racked up many sketches and did not complete the evaluation form, and wanted to go back and retrieve those hours, and even called the state and pled their case. You can't open that back up. If you miss that time frame, you don't get the credit, regardless of what you've done. Stayed the entire time and, you know, submitted your paperwork. If you don't do that evaluation within, I think.
The state just changed that. It's a year now.
It
From
is?
when I upload it, they just changed that this year. It
It's a
used to be
year, too.
30 days from the window from when I uploaded it, but they did just change that, and it is a year.
The last email and evaluation I got, they had
They're
changed
still
the
putting that
message
out
on
there.
it.
They're not gonna
Yeah.
change that because they want you guys to get in the habit of doing it in 30 days. And they are allowing it up to a year from whenever
Well, that's
I
good to
upload
know.
with the state. The other thing you gotta remember too is, like, let's say you take this training class today, I'll probably upload these tomorrow because it's a smaller class. From the date that I upload it with this date, you cannot send me your participation forms unless it's under 30 days. After 30 days, I'm not allowed to upload anyone's participation. So like RSD, when everyone was on November 4th and they're sending me their participation forms because they just found it, I can't upload it. It has to be within 30 days from the date I uploaded it. Window. And then after, when the event occurs, I still have 30 days to upload it with the state. You know, let's say your training was on January 30th and no one got me the participation forms until March 30th, it's too late. It has to be Windows 30 days. They're getting strict on that.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Jen. Any questions or comments? Forms and MOEX, the last tab, anytime, if you're applying for a professional and you need to verify your experience, this is where you'd find the form. Another form that I see quite frequently, let's say you did out-of-state coursework and need a reading diagnostic requirement, you'd find that form here as well. So I can take you through the steps for the application process. The circle around the button on the left is for applying for certification. When you have put in your professional learning, which you have to do before you apply for anything, you'll be able to apply for the certificate. The system will ding you if you try to do it before you put in your professional learning, or it might take you on a sequence of questions that aren't necessarily appropriate for you because the system is trying to qualify you through some other means. So before you go to apply, make sure you have your professional learning into the system previously. For most of you, a lot of you will go in and you'll say, I need my professional certificate. It doesn't list professional certificate. here's what it'll list for you for your choices. So it'll list a teaching certificate or a renewal of teaching certificate. It won't necessarily list, it doesn't list a professional certificate. The system that you go through and the questions that you answer and the information that you put into it will establish which certificate is appropriate. So if you're renewing your provisional, if you're applying for a professional, if you're renewing your professional, you'll click the first choice, which is teaching certificate or renewal of teaching certificate. The only one that's isolated as it relates to teaching is the 2-year provisional extension. And then you'll see there are other cert types that you can apply for. So you'll pick the certificate and you'll apply and you'll go through the qualifier questions. This is about occupational, so I don't know, these questions will look a little weird. If you're applying for a professional, it'll ask you about your years of experience, your reading diagnostic. Those are the questions that it'll get. And then for data purposes, it'll ask you what TPI you did your program through, what institution you completed your diagnostic class from, and so forth.
Alex, I have a question.
Yes?
So if you have more than one certificate, you have an occupational certificate and a teaching certificate, you have to apply to renew both of them separately?
Well, you do, but I mean, you can do the process simultaneously. So for example, if you apply for your certificate, your teaching certificate, after you finish that online process, you'll be prompted with a question, do you wish to apply for an occupational certificate? And then you'll just go through those questions for that as well. They try to partner those two certificates up so that they go through together. Good question. A lot of times teachers, they'll get that OC certificate question, they're not sure what that is, and they'll call us. So it's the vocational certificate. The last sequence of questions you'll get are the 4 conviction questions. Make sure you answer those truthfully. Yes to any of those, and you do have to submit documentation and go through the approval process for that. Once you've finished those steps, you'll get a page that looks like this. This is just the verification page of your application. You'll look it over to make sure that everything that you've specified on there is correct. I have fielded a lot of questions lately about some teachers go through and they kind of play guess and check with questions to see what sequence of questions will get them to their desired outcome. Really, you got to do this by the book. Typically what they're doing is they're not putting in their professional learning, and then they're getting questions about teaching in another state and they don't get it. But if they answer no to it, then it denies them, so then they answer yes, and next thing you know, they have a certificate that they're not intending to apply for with answers to questions that are not true. So, don't hastily go through it. If you feel like you're on a track that doesn't make sense, back up. Probably what's happened is you haven't put in the professional learning requirements before applying. And here's that question about, I guess because this is a simulation of an application, so it's asking if you want to apply for a teacher cert. So if you had applied for the teacher cert, at the end it'd ask you about an OC certificate. When you finish, you have to answer the questions, verifying the information you've provided is true and accurate, that you've read the advisory, and then you have to provide an electronic signature. The signature has to appear as it does in the parentheses to the side. So it is case sensitive, so all caps I think is how they do it. Make sure it reads the same way, otherwise it won't submit. And then you get assigned an application number, and you can track the progress of your application by logging into MOEX. When you first submit it, it'll be in a pending documents status, so waiting for documents to be sent to our office. You also could potentially be in a pending payment status, so when you pay your fee, obviously you get upgraded. When it goes into our work queue, it's in as pending evaluation. You can delete the application up until the point that you've paid the fee. Once you've paid the fee, that's kind of the point of no return. You'd have to call our office and We could, if you feel like you've submitted an application in error, say you think you should be getting a professional, but it's a provisional renewal, you can call us, we can do some refund paperwork, and we can cancel the app and you can apply for the one that you feel you're eligible for. I thought what I could do maybe, here's the teacher cert page. So if you go to www.michigan.gov and you log /teacher cert, the first thing you'll see at the top is the facts on educator certification, the stuff that I've gone over this early part of the afternoon. A breakdown of what the requirements are for each cert type is there. Here you'll see the link to MOEX. There is, I mean, this might be a little dated. If you want to verify someone's certificate, you can do so by name. There's a frequently asked questions and some tutorial stuff here for MOEX if you get in and you're having difficulty. As you scroll to the bottom of the page, some of those things I mentioned earlier, if you need a reading diagnostic class, here it is. Here are the accreditation agencies. Just see what else is worth pointing out. The classes that can be taught if you're working on your master schedule and having some troubles with those sticky ones, and you kind of want to see if how an RX or a specific endorsement code, how you can place that and what it's required for HQ, you can take a look there. Why don't I go through, let's see. So here's the login page for MOEX. Here it'll ask you for a user ID and password. So if you don't have any pending certificates, when you go to MOEX, this is what it'll look like. Say you've created an application. If you had one on file, it'd be listed right here. The PIC number that I said that you have to put into the SCR, the Secure Central Registry, if you don't know what your PIC number is, and you're trying to link up the Secure Central Registry to MOEX so all your sketches can come over, you can find that by clicking on the Manage Demographics. So your PIC number is right here. And if you want to sell my personal information on the black market, you can. I get a cut though. Just a small fee. Make sure that your email is current, again, so when we send out updates or announcements that it'll reach you. So, and if you get married and your name changes, you can do that by clicking on Edit, and you can change your name. Applying for certificates, it's not going to let me do much of anything because I have a current certificate right now, but so if I click on this, and it'll basically tell you can't apply until the year that it expires. This is true for any renewal. If you try to renew before the year your certificate expires, it's not going to let you. If you want to move from a provisional to a professional, you can do that at any time. You don't have to wait until the year that your certificate expires. You can do that at any point that you meet all of the professional requirements. Let's say you finish an additional endorsement program and you wish to add it to your certificate. This tab here will allow you to do so. If you complete an in-state program through one of Michigan's teacher preparation institutions, it'll put you on track for their certification office. If you've done one in another state, you'll come through MDE to be evaluated. Your print certificate, so you can click on whichever one is most recent, and when you have to download it. Sometimes people will try to print it, and if you just click on this, it'll come up, but it doesn't have all the information, so you have to download it first, and then print it again. Once you've signed it and had it notarized, it's an official document. If you want to know when your certificate expires, you can click there to find out. And here again is where you do your college credit. Yeah, I took that class. I'm not entirely proud of it. Everybody okay out there? I haven't done any sketch work, but if you had, this is where it would be if you would put in your PIC to link it to the MOEX. Forms, again, those forms that I had showed you before. Really, I mean, kind of the daunting process is to just create one. Once you're in and you get a little more comfort level navigating it, then it is, I mean, in my opinion, it's a lot more smooth sailing than what had preceded it. Your Secure Central Registry has gone through some recent changes. It's at getmypd, so it's getmypd.com, but it's also linked to our teacher cert page. That's one of the things I probably should have showed you when I was on the teacher cert page. You can find a link to the Secure Central Registry. The changes, from what I understand, some things are different, and they may or may not affect you, I'm not sure. When you're logging into the Secure Central Registry, if you've ever done that before, you've always done so with an email account. That's going to, or that has changed. If you've been to the SCR before, you'll see there's a place where you can go and you'll put in your email and your email password.
And
Yes.
one thing when they're logging into their SCR account or their MOEX account, some people are having problems logging in on the internet. So they're advising you to use a different option like Chrome or something else, because I know that we were having lots of problems with people not being able to log into their SCR account. So just keep that in mind when logging in, if you're doing it under the Internet Explorer and you're getting an error or you're not able to complete an evaluation, to try a different internet browser.
Is Internet Explorer the one that seems to be
That's the one that I
issue?
was having
Okay.
lots of issues with when I was trying to upload to people.
Okay.
So, and I
So
know
Chrome
that,
might work better than others?
yeah, Chrome or something like
Firefox,
that.
I don't know.
Yeah, just an FYI.
Okay, thank you for that. If you've been there before, you'll log in with your email that you've always logged in with, and you'll be prompted to change your login. If you've never been there before, there is an option to the right where you'll create an account. So starting February 15th, this took effect. They're advising you, if you've set up a MOEX account already, or if you've set up an account to use MOEX, the SCR people are advising you to use that login ID. So a truncated version of your last name, usually first two letters of your first name. Again, if you have a common name, it could be some derivative or variation of that. But they're asking you to use your login ID for MOEX, just as a process for only having to remember one as opposed to two. As far as selecting a password, that's your prerogative to select that one. It doesn't assign a password to you, it only assigns login ID. Or, no, sorry. Yeah, you can pick your login ID following a certain set of criteria. It does say it's not case sensitive, but then they suggest a mix of upper and lower case. Interesting. And may include a number. If you forget your password, there are features to help you with that. When you're setting up a new account, so if you've never been there before, to create an account, you click on Create an Account and fill in all the required information. Here's a question that I mentioned earlier, a question about obtaining sketches for certification purposes, and you'll notice that the field No has been populated. If you change that to yes, your PIC field will pop up here, and it'll give you the option of putting that in. If you leave anything blank, you will get an error message. When you've successfully registered, this is what you'll see. If you try to go in with your old login, so your email, if you try to use your email after you've changed to a user ID, the system's not going to allow you to do it. These are some fields, I think some will be, some of the fields that you'll have to do if you're interested in having a notification go to a secondary email, you can select that option. Security questions, you'll have to pick a security question. To change passwords, so let's say you wish to change a password, there's some criteria for changing the password, and you can see where you'd go to do so. You click on My Account and select the Change Password feature. Passwords are always case sensitive, unlike user IDs. Here's some information about the evaluation process, and Katie and Jana, if you have anything to add. It looks like here they're saying that evaluations must be completed within 30 days after it's been uploaded. Okay.
That's what the state said, they just changed that, but they're still recommending 30.
Okay. You can see there's a band that goes across the top of the SCR that you can use to do various things. So you'll see at the top, there's an evaluation tab. You can do a variety of things to find the evaluations that you have to complete. There's a filter by, so you can choose dates. And I believe you can list out or show all of the ones that are outstanding that still need to be completed. Your payments. So you have the option to complete several of evaluations and then pay all together. There's a payment tab at the top, and then you'll select pay due, or payments due, and follow the process. As mentioned earlier, if you haven't completed all steps for this, you won't be able to get your awarded sketch, your sketches won't be awarded, so payment is part of the process, obviously. The transcripts, try not to confuse this with like college transcripts, where all college transcripts provided to our office have to be official. You can view your unofficial transcripts of your sketches on the SCR. You can do so by clicking transcripts and then selecting unofficial, and I believe it lists out everything with dates and activity titles that you've earned sketch credit for, or previously State Board Continuing Education clock hours or units. It looks like you can show those all and list them. If you're interested in obtaining official transcripts, has anyone ever been asked to provide any official transcript before? I mean, the process that Jana and Katie explained, I mean, that's a process for earning the sketches in the system. And then once those come over to the SCR, we don't ask for documentation, because the idea is everything all the protocol has been followed previously for it to get to that point. So unlike with college credit or requesting document for DPPD, we do not request transcripts. I don't know if there's any other reason that, can you guys think of anything that a person might be requested to have a transcript of their sketches?
They can get one through the ISC, it's a $10 fee that they have to pay if they want it, but for sketches.
Okay, all right, thank you. In terms of selecting things that you're interested in attending, there's a catalog for doing so. You can view all approved programs through a catalog. You can look by providers. You can look by different categorical areas, and you can make that determination. It looks like catalog, if you're interested in that. There's a tab at the top for that. To access the catalog of approved programs, click catalog on the menu bar, and you can search by keywords. So maybe there's something that you're really interested in, or a program name. If you know the activity, you can search by that. Or maybe you're just looking to complete something during a designated time. You can search by date range. Once you've completed your search criteria, sometimes because it is searching through so many different things, it may take a little bit of time to appear, but you'll see something that looks like this. It'll have the program name, how it's offered, the location where it's offered, a contact person, the cost, how many sketches are available, and if there's any kind of technical or prerequisite component to it, and the dates. You can click on the little links to find out the contact information, so you can find out who would be the person to talk to about a particular offering. You can click on the view details if you want to know more about what the activity is all about. It gives you a kind of a brief synopsis of what the sketch is. And there's a link, if you click the blue hyperlink, so for Macomb ISD, you could get the address on where you need to go. Click session to view the dates of the course. And these are slides, so when you go to the Secure Central Registry, these are some slides that Claudia had prepared for individuals to help them use it. Sponsors circled at the top. So professional development information website. This is what it would look like if you clicked on that. You can get a list of all of the individuals that have been, or entities that have been approved to offer or sponsor sketch credit.
Alex, if I can interrupt, so you're
Sure.
on the SCR site with those tabs across the top, correct?
Sorry, yes.
So catalog, because I'm on it right now, and I don't see catalog
You
at
know?
all. But I mean, I'm logged in under my own, so I see my account, transcript, evaluations, payments, sponsors, and log off.
Yeah, catalog was there before I logged in, but when I logged in, it went away.
Oh, so
So I don't know.
Oh,
Well, I backed up and got it and it came back to it, so.
Yeah.
So what did you do to get back to it?
I just
Log
backed
on.
up to the login page and hit catalog.
I just log off.
Yes, you're right.
so if you're not logged in, you can view that information, but if you are logged in, you
Yeah.
cannot.
You can't see the catalog, you see.
Strange.
Oh,
But
yeah,
yes.
thanks.
Okay. Oh, they want me to pick a username.
Once
Okay, so this, if you've been here before, this is the steps that it'll take you through. So it'll want you to choose. I'm going to follow their advice, and I'm going to pick my my MOEX login. So evidently, if you're going to be looking for offerings, it doesn't want you to be logged in. So good to know. And maybe we could make an enhancement.
Maybe it's
to
just
it.
not as secure, maybe there's not
That's a good way.
a firewall.
The Secure Central Registry, useful tips. If you're logged in, please remember to log off using the menu bar. If you encounter problems with the SCR, to contact SCR directly through their number or help desk. Questions about, this is probably not the comment you want us to give out, but questions about the specific programs. Well, they can talk to you about the programs, but issues within, contact your sponsor of your program. Our sketch coordinator or our sketch person for MDE, there's a contact number and email for her. And I can make these, what I'll do, I can make these slides available so you guys can have the contact information so you're not trying to copy everything down. And I can maybe just work with you, have those emailed to you. If you have issues with linking MOEX and SCR, that comes through the MOEX help desk. Two different program types when you talk about sketches, the traditional stuff that you do versus the non-traditional activities. For traditional stuff, we're talking about meetings and workshops or conferences. So that's historically probably how you've been able to earn your sketches. There are also non-traditional programs that I can go over with you. So a non-traditional program are PD activities where you can earn sketches. You can apply for these. This is something that you have to pre-arrange with your sketch coordinator. It's not something that you can do retroactively after the fact. So if you wanted to do, say if you want to be a mentor of a school psychologist or a new principal or administrative mentor, you can earn sketches for that. There is a pre-approval process. Do you guys want to go over that process at all? Is that do you commonly do that through
The non-traditional,
TBA?
I apply at the beginning of the school year, and it's applied through the end of the school year for most of them. And it's just one approval number, so whoever wants to do like a school committee or a teacher mentor for the first semester, the second semester, those are all pre-approved already. They just have to fill out the proper paperwork depending on what non-traditional they're applying for, and then they would be turned in and process it. For like the full semester ones I do at the end of the school year, but for then the other ones, the first semester and second semester, those ones are due in January and then in June. And you have to have a log to show how many hours that you were teacher mentoring or how many hours you're mentoring, and with times and dates, and then your principal or superintendent has to sign off on those. But they're all pre-approved already
Okay.
for the school year.
So if they're doing it for a second semester, you said
I need it in June.
okay.
It goes from January 1st to June 30th, I believe, is
Okay.
the time frame. And then I just need them turned in to me within 30 days of the end date. And you can't turn in your first semester and your second semester at the same time at the end of the school year. I need the first semester in January. Otherwise, you can't get them.
You can earn, in any one activity, you can earn up to 90 hours over the 5-year duration. So you could do it, I guess if it's 30 clock hours each time, you could do it 3 times over the 5 years. So that would include being a mentor. If you have a student teacher or student intern, if you are supervising a school counselor's internship, if you're supervising a school psychologist internship or practicum experience, you can earn sketches for that, following the procedure that Katie just mentioned. Again, for any one activity, the maximum hours that you get for that would be 90 sketches. And that would again be doing it 3 successive times over the 5 years.
And they can do like, if they're a teacher mentor and they want to do a school committee in one school year, you can do both.
Okay, it has to be a different activity,
Yes,
but in one school activity. So these are some of the committees that Katie just mentioned. So if you wanted to participate in your school improvement team, you could arrange to earn the sketches for that. School committee meetings, MDE committees. Again, work with your local sponsor or coordinator for the complete description and rules for each program type below. An individual professional activity, so like being a guest instructor at an advanced degree college or university program. You can't do it at as an adjunct or at a community college. It would have to be at a higher, it would have to be at a 4-year institution. And there are ways to earn sketches for military training as well. Again, noted at the bottom, no more than 90 hours during any 5-year period. There are some general CEUs for which you can apply for sketches after you've completed and earned the certificate. And I'm afraid I don't know a great deal about these, but they're listed, the IACET program, and the U.S. Department of Ed teacher-to-teacher program. You can work with your sponsoring agency if you present certifications of completion for these to get sketch credit for those.
The
Just-
ISET is out of state.
Sorry?
The ISET one's out of state.
Thanks.
To get sketches for, it's an out of state program that you have to have an agenda turned in and they have to offer sketches.
Okay.
That was a little bit more detailed. If you're gonna look at an out of state training, you're gonna see if they're gonna offer it.
Okay. And if you, I mean, you can get pre-approval to do other things. A lot of times it requires just getting necessary documentation, agenda, literature for it. Make sure you leave an advanced amount of time before attending to work out the details on that. Professional, so that's anything about SCR and sketches. I know I kind of glossed over that. Again, it's not really my area, but is there anything that you needed for that? Okay. Back to PD, the requirements for school districts. So School Code 380-1526 has to do with new teachers. So this sets out the requirements for beginning teachers. Teachers in their first 3 years have to do 15 days of PD over their first 3 years. It's separate from the standard district-provided professional development that all teachers are required to attend. They have to have an individualized development plan, and they have to have a mentor assigned to them. 1527 is the code that designates 5 days of PD for teachers annually. This is what districts are required to provide teachers with. The state board created a professional learning policy. This is kind of more, the reason I put this in towards the end, this is more to do with the district side of things than teachers. Mostly the other stuff I was talking about was from the teacher perspective. When creating DPPD, the state board wishes this to be ongoing and sustained, job embedded, and of high quality, and focused on professional learning with student achievement and outcomes in mind. Examples of these may be listed here, but not limited to PLCs, work driven by school improvement, and lesson studies or curriculum revisions. In terms of documenting PD, districts have to document the PD, teachers have to document it for their own purposes. So districts have to document it to show that they're in compliance with 1526 and 1527. Teachers have to document it if they're intending to use it as a mechanism for their certificate renewal or progression. As far as tracking PD provided to districts and supporting documentation for that, districts probably need to have dates, titles, activity information, attendance. If it's a PLC, some kind of log, an attendance, designation dates and times. Mentoring sessions, that process has to be designated as well. So if you're mentoring a teacher, or if you're being mentored, those are things that need to be tracked. ISDs and RESAs, obviously they track everything too, dates, titles, hours of activities, attendance, through the processes described earlier. Sketch transcript, so anything that you earn, following all the steps for earning goes in your SCR, and your university transcripts are what you use to substantiate the information that you put into the system and verify that you've taken it. DPPD documentation, so the form that I referenced earlier is what you need filled out by your district. You have to have your principal or someone designated by the district fill that out and initial the attached pages. And then the teacher has to complete the application process through MOX. There's a handout that I had. I really wasn't sure if I kind of thought it could be appropriate for administrators and teachers, so I thought why not use it as a handout. It has what districts are encouraged to consider when you're talking about DPPD, and these 4 items are listed. The purpose is to increase student learning, to align it with school improvement. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it's got to be planned, it's got to be ongoing, it has to be intensive, and it has to be supported in some way by the district or the school, such as through release time and cost. That last part is if you're using it, well, all of these really, if you're using it for DPPD for a certificate renewal. There may be things that you're not sure of, and maybe they're not in the context of the 5 days or the 30 hours, but you want to use them as district-provided professional development nonetheless. That fourth part, is it, are you supported by your district, either financially or with necessary support for class coverage and so forth. Questions about that? Oh, I do have a contact person in here. Awesome. Donna Hamilton is the person in our office that handles all of this. So if you're an administrator wondering about DPPD to offer, if you're a teacher wondering about what can be considered for DPPD or kind of how it breaks down, she would be the person that you would talk to about that. Here, the 2 pages of that form. If you're a teacher, you're probably looking to the far right column. So trying to figure out what you might be able to count for DPPD for certificate renewal. Could it be your orientation at the beginning of the year? No, probably not, because there's not anything embedded there in terms of improving student learning. Curriculum development meetings and school improvement. Yes, if you can say that it meets those 4 criteria specified on the previous slide. Professional learning communities, study groups, action research, study of student work, lesson study. I guess I should clarify the middle column. So these are things that new teachers may do. Please understand that what's designated as new teacher professional development is not what you use for district-provided professional development for certificate renewal. What you do in the context of your 5 days or your 30 hours is, if you have, because I know it gets a little sticky with that, if you do have questions on that, please address those with Donna. University, college, and credit, yes, if it's supported by the district. Mentor of new teachers is some of the non-traditional stuff. Instructional technology. Sessions dedicated to qualifying, I'm not sure what that is, to be quite honest. So qualifying for accreditation. Workshops obviously can count. Again, if you can answer yes to those 4 questions. Online learning experience, yes, if you can answer yes to the questions. Student teaching supervision. They say maybe, and in parentheses it says if it leads to knowledge for the supervising teacher who can report it related to the above 4 guiding points. So evidently there's some gray area there. Staff meetings, I don't know, I've been in staff meetings where it's been, why are the buses late? And I've been in some staff meetings where it's been very targeted and focused on student learning. I guess they're saying no because in the context of how staff meetings go, unless so if you're going over student data, if you're doing things that are inconsistent with the 4 guidelines from the slide.
Then it probably would fit under a category from the other side, the other page.
True, good point.
You'll see study group, action research, study of student work, lesson study.
Yeah, excellent point. What's needed for renewal? There are some things listed here like counselor, psychologist, administrator, so you'll notice in the DPPD column, the rules haven't been built to accommodate DPPD for those. There is a little wiggle room for administrators in that piece in the administrative rules that allow you to, if you have the professional teaching certificate, to use that as a basis for renewing your administrator cert. So potentially indirectly through that. But otherwise, school counselors, school psychologists, and school administrators are using either sketches or college credit. Highly qualified. Go to 3.3? 3:45, okay. Let me go over HQ stuff, and then we can get our computers out, and we can do a little bit of messing around through MOEX and sketches, or the SCR. NCL being highly qualified, so No Child Left Behind made it necessary for anyone in a core subject area or a requirement, I should say, anyone in the core subject area to be highly qualified to teach in those core areas. And it starts with being placed according to your certificate and grade levels. Something that's important to note here, a teacher's highly qualified status is established with the local. So the district and the teachers sit down to establish how the teacher's highly qualified. These are the core areas, so if you're placed in any of these, you have to be highly qualified. English, reading, language arts, math, science, foreign languages, the social studies categorical areas of civics and government, economics and history and geography, and then the arts, so visual arts, music, dance and theater. Highly qualified means that a teacher holds at least a bachelor's degree and is certified and endorsed and authorized to teach the subjects that they've been placed in. You can use your you can use your academic major to demonstrate your highly qualified status. So 30 credit hours in an academic major and you're highly qualified. You can use a rigorous proficiency test like the MTTC, the Michigan Test for Teacher Certification. If you were certified somewhere in the early 90s or later, when those tests became a requirement, then you should be all set. There are house options. Maybe I should have included a slide with those, but there are 3 house options that a teacher can use if they don't have an academic major or if they haven't passed a test. There are alternatives to demonstrating a highly qualified status, or a teacher can demonstrate highly qualified status by being national board certified. In elementary, it's pretty easy if you've taken and passed what used to be the MTTC test 83, or the one that has since replaced it, 103, then you're highly qualified for your placement if you're placed in a K-5 all subjects classroom, or if you're in grades 6 through 8 self-contained. As for departmentalized setting, middle and secondary, a teacher who's passed the MTTC in their endorsement area is considered highly qualified. All middle and secondary certified teachers who hold a major in their endorsement areas are also considered highly qualified. How do you demonstrate that you're highly qualified? A teacher can demonstrate that they're highly qualified in areas for which they are certified by one of the methods listed under highly qualified above. So what we just went over. If you choose, how many of you have explored the house options on our HQ page? Have any of you looked at that? If you go to michigan.gov/MDE-HQ, you can find the house options there. We have HQT reporting forms that teachers and districts can use to, it's basically a checklist, so you can put your assignment at the top of the form and then check the item on the form that makes you highly qualified. The house options are listed there. There are 3 of them. One involves a master's degree or 18 credit hours in a master's degree after the initial certification. The second house option has to do with PD or specific credit within the core area that you're looking to demonstrate your highly qualified status. And there is a portfolio option that, to my knowledge, has never been utilized.